Many people believe that love is essentially for a fulfilling life, but in reality, oxygen is much more critical. Despite its importance, we tend to take it for granted because it is freely available. However, imagine a world where all the trees disappear and we have to pay for oxygen. This is precisely what happened in a town called Needville. In this town, there are no plants, and everything is made of plastic, including the houses, roads, and even the fake trees. These trees do not produce oxygen, but act as lamps. And the only way to get oxygen is through a company called O'Hare Air, which charges people for it. This way of life has been the norm for many years in Needville, and people have grown accustomed to it. They don't even question it or try to change it. It's crucial to understand that the air we breathe is not something that should be taken for granted, and we should do everything in our power to protect the natural sources of oxygen, such as trees. The owner of O'Hare Air is Aloysius O'Hare, who also happens to be the richest man in town. He lives a luxurious life, and his business is a major presence in the community. Another resident of the town is a teenager named Ted Wiggins. Ted has just experienced his first love, and he has a crush on a beautiful girl named Audrey. Although she considers Ted her best friend, Audrey is deeply interested in trees, and she shows Ted the backyard where she has painted the candy-like trees that existed long ago. Audrey's biggest wish is to see a real tree, and she has even said that she would marry the person who can make that happen. Ted sees this as an opportunity to impress her and rushes home to ask her mother where he can find a tree. Unfortunately, his mother dismisses his questions as nonsense and walks away. However, Ted's grandmother is willing to help him. In her story, Grandma tells Ted about a man named Onceler who knows everything about the real trees. He is a mysterious figure who lives outside of town and charges 2 cents per nail and an old snail for his secrets. Eager to learn more, Ted rushes to the exit gate and discovers a completely different world outside of town, a deserted place with no signs of life. Undeterred, Ted sets out on his bike to the address that Grandma gave him, which is on the other side of a destroyed bridge. When he arrives, he finds himself on the Strait of the Lifted Lorax, and the smoke clears to reveal a scary, abandoned house with Onceler's name on the door tag. Ted rings the bell, but a trap throws him up in the air and a huge hook catches him. The scary old man warns Ted not to come back, but Ted is determined to find out what happened to the real trees. Upon hearing the word trees, Onceler's attention is drawn and he begins blaming himself for their destruction. The incident happened when he was just a young, enthusiastic boy. He had set out on a journey to find the perfect material for his new invention. After traveling for several days, he stumbled upon a place that could be called paradise. It had singing fish, dancing bears, exotic birds, crystal clear water, and fluffy, colorful trees. He was overwhelmed by the joy. However, Onceler's careless behavior while unpacking his belongings made the animals angry. But he had a trick up his sleeve. He opened big sacks of delicious, squishy marshmallows to placate them. After a delicious feast, the animals were satisfied like never before. Onceler then picked up his axe and cut down a tree, unknowingly summoning a mythical creature called Lorax. Despite his small size and massive mustache, Lorax was the guardian of the forest and was outraged by Onceler's actions. Feeling sorry for the dead tree, Lorax warned Onceler to leave the forest immediately. However, Onceler refused to listen and continued his business. Lorax warned him of a curse that was coming, but Onceler didn't take it seriously. What happened next was unexpected, and the old man telling the story to Ted refused to continue unless Ted visited Onceler again to hear more. The following day, Ted daydreams about Andre's birthday. In his dream, he presents her with a living tree, and they're about to spend some time together when his mother interrupts him, bringing him back to reality. Ted knows he needs to meet with Onceler again, but he's forced to spend the weekend with his family. Fortunately, his mother becomes bored and goes to her room, giving Ted an opportunity to sneak away. However, as Ted tries to leave through the exit gate, he is stopped by O'Hare, the greedy mayor. O'Hare doesn't want anyone to learn how to grow trees because it will reduce the demand for his packaged oxygen. He warns Ted not to mess with him, as he is watching every citizen closely. Despite the warning, Ted remains determined to pursue his mission. After O'Hare leaves, Ted leaves town again. Upon seeing Ted, the Onceler is surprised and realizes that Ted is doing it for a girl. He comments that a boy might do a stupid thing once, but doing it twice is usually for a girl. Then, he continues to tell a story about his first night in the forest, where Lorax teamed up with animals to carry the Onceler in his bed. Accidentally, a baby bear was also left in the bed, and when the bed fell into the river, Lorax rushed to save the bear but failed to climb the tree. The bed flowed into shallow water, and the Onceler woke up in panic, trying to survive the dangerous waves. Finally, the bed became a little steady, but a waterfall was only a few inches away. Lorax picked up a stick and threw a huge stone in the direction of the waterfall. It hit the bed, and Lou gets thrown out of the river and is knocked unconscious. Lorax was worried and used static electricity to revive him. Once Lou woke up, he was grateful for the act of kindness and promised not to cut down any more trees. The next morning, he woke up to find his belongings surrounded by all the animals he had contaminated. He became angry and left to market his business using the fur from the tree. He created a fabric piece called sneed that could be used in various ways, such as a scarf, a rug, a towel, and more. Lorax made fun of the weird invention and predicted its failure. Onceler's invention was indeed ridiculed by everyone, and he threw it away, losing heart. However, the fabric accidentally fell over the head of a beautiful girl, and she looked trendy wearing it. Suddenly, everyone wanted the sneed. Unaware of his success, Onceler continued to live his life with the forest animals. One day, a crowd of people marched towards him, requesting the sneed. Onceler was about to get rich. The story ends on a cliffhanger, leaving readers to wonder what happens next. The day after visiting the market, Ted attempts to leave the town but finds that O'Hare has sealed the door. He spots a tall building and uses it to escape the town by jumping over the boundaries. Swanster gives him a bag of marshmallows and tells him the rest of the story. Once, Onceler had successful marketing. He invited his family to join him in the business. Unfortunately, they were greedy and lazy, only interested in the money the business could bring in. Lorax did not like them at all, but Onceler continued with the business after assuring the safety of the trees. Mother found the harvesting too slow and suggested cutting down a few trees. Onceler agreed despite Lorax reminding him of his promise and calling him a bad guy. His greediness for success blinded him to the destruction he was causing. His greediness for profit and money prevented him from seeing the destruction he was causing. The factory grew larger every day, polluting the air, water, and soil, causing harm to animals and fish. Meanwhile, Onceler built a luxurious mansion with a spacious office. Lorax met with Onceler and spoke about his transformation. Onceler had achieved everything he wanted, but his desire for more never ended. He forgot the promise he made, and Lorax felt sorry for him. However, Onceler believed that he wasn't doing anything wrong, and nothing could stop him. Unfortunately, the last 3 trees were chopped down, and Onceler's business came to an end. His family left him, and the animals migrated to find a better place. Onceler was left alone in the polluted environment he had created. He continues to regret his mistakes and wonders why Lorax left without fixing the mess. He believes that Lorax left the big task for a brave boy like Ted. Onceler gives Ted the last seed to grow a tree. He asks him to plant it in the center of the town where everyone can see it. Ted must make people care for trees again. Although it is just a small seed, it is not about what it is right now, but what it can become. Ted sneaks back into town through the drainage system, destroying a security camera on the way. Unfortunately, the camera still captures everything and sends the information to O'Hare. Ted runs towards his house, calling Audrey over to help him. When he reaches his room, he starts looking for a way to germinate the seed. However, his mother interrupts him, calling him downstairs. In his rush to leave, Ted accidentally knocks over a water bottle. O'Hare arrives and demands that Ted hand over the seed, but Ted refuses. O'Hare orders his men to search for Ted's room, but they are unable to find the seed. Ted's mother becomes angry at their behavior, and O'Hare eventually leaves warning that he will keep an eye on Ted. Ted continues to search for the seed, but only finds his grandmother's walking stick. The seeds have already started to germinate, which is a heartwarming sight. Audrey joins Ted and gets excited to see a real plant for the first time in her life. Ted asks Audrey to help him plant the seed in the middle of the town. However, there are security guards standing in front of their house. Ted's mother then decides to distract the guards by driving away in her high-tech car. The guard assumes that Ted is inside the car and starts following it. Ted's mother uses the nitro boost to speed up and tries to escape. The guards hits the escaping car, but Ted's mother makes a risky move by turning into a half-constructed bridge. Luckily, she applies the brakes at the right moment, and the guard opens the car's door only to find a dummy inside. Ted is joined by Audrey and Grandma as they set off on their mission. Despite their efforts, O'Hare refuses to give up and continues to pursue them. He follows Ted through dangerous routes, causing multiple accidents along the way. Ted manages to reach the top of a tall building with the seat in hand, but O'Hare uses his gun to turn on the oxygen fans, causing the seat to blow away. The race for the seat continues as O'Hare and his men chase after it. The seat eventually lands in an oxygen container, but it is hit by a van and lost again. O'Hare catches up to the container, but his hands get stuck. Puss in Boots is also on his way and nearly misses catching the seed. However, Grandma O'Hare comes to the rescue and uses her stick to grab the seed and snatch it away from O'Hare. The group heads to Central Park to plant a seed, but they cannot find any mud. Grandma, however, has a solution. She gets on a tractor and hits O'Hare's statue, causing its head to fall off and break the ground. This act prompts public questioning over their actions, and O'Hare arrives, calling the group filthy and useless. He tries to convince the public that they do not need trees and that photosynthesis is a lie. Despite O'Hare's efforts, the people realize the importance of trees and stop him. Ted gets in the tractor and hits the town walls, revealing the outside world that was previously hidden. Snadeville is revealed to be an illusion, and the people are tired of living a plastic life within the walls. They want to breathe fresh air and live freely. O'Hare makes a final effort to stop them, but the people have made their choice. With their support, Ted plants the seed and waters it, symbolizing a new beginning for the town. As time passed, plans for change began to sprout up everywhere. Even Onceler, who had been living alone in his house, began to tend to his garden and water it daily. The animals slowly started to return. However, Onceler was eagerly waiting for his old friend, the Lorax, to come back. He had finally made his friend proud by taking action to make a positive change. As Dr. Seuss wrote in his book, The Lorax, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Ted, like the Lorax, cared deeply about the environment and was committed to making a difference. As long as people like him existed, the world would continue to have clean air and be a place worth living in. And that's our recap of the beloved movie Lorax. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe to Alpha Recaps, and I'll see you in the next one.